let's get into this Pfizer headquarters lobby in New York. Now, I know a lot of other channels have covered this, but what you're going to hear today, you have not heard yet. Much of it, anyway, because we're going to go look at the proximity of the building to the UN complex. We're going to break down the artist who did the work, who actually died in 66 of all years. We're going to look at the origins of this artwork. We're going to break down the alchemical symbols in the artwork that may hold dark art, steel, and watery clay. So this isn't just a general show talking about the symbols. We're going to go deep. Now, we're also going to be in Google Earth, and we're going to dig deep into these alchemical charts. So the first thing I noticed, let's get into this here. Now, we may be having an issue here. Always having an issue, right? Well, here's what we're going to do. Let's turn off the 3D here. Let's see if that helps us. I've been having internet issues all morning, just so you guys know. And my guess is it's because of the topic and the subject matter that we're going to cover today. Let's see if we can get this going. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to close this while we talk first. All right. Now, the first thing I noticed in this video, now this video was by a particular YouTube channel. So I'm going to give a shout out to this channel because this brought this to our awareness. Lincoln Kareem, here's the channel here. Thank you, Lincoln, for getting this video footage. And people had discovered this before Lincoln Kareem, because if you go on the internet and type in Pfizer lobby headquarters mural, all these images pop up from a long time ago. So this has been talked about before, but I think that given today's environment and what we're dealing with here with the Pokemon stickers, that this is very important for us to go back through this, because this is huge. It's all connecting together now. Now we're starting to see what the real plan of these people was from the very beginning, getting people used to pharmakia, getting them accustomed to needing or feeling like they needed to continually put things in their body, dependent on the doctors, the caduceus. The whole thing is coming together. The whole psyop, the entire deception and lie, leading us all the way to a standard regimen of Pokemon stickers every 3 to 6 months, preparing the flesh for something that I believe by the end of this, when there's no flesh left, this will be the reason. So I will link this channel down here in the pinned comment so you guys can see this for yourself. Now, the first thing I noticed was Horus, of course. This is Horus. It is a falcon-headed god. And I've got the sound off here because there's really no sound other than you can hear the street moving by and everything. But this is Horus. Now, if you look through here, there are many, many symbols. Again, this is peering in with a camera into the lobby of Pfizer's world headquarters. Then there's this object, and I was not able to identify this object within the mosaic. Okay, so I don't know what this particular object is. But of course, there is the Eye of Horus as well. Now we're going to break these down a little bit further, because there's more to this than meets the eye. The Eye of Horus, and then across the top, it says breakthrough. We'll cover those symbols as well. Breakthroughs that change patients. And the last word is lives. So you got to ask yourself, what does that mean? Now, one of you noticed, the first thing I noticed was these chemistry beakers and glassware. And one of you noticed that when you flip this part of the beakers and glassware upside down, you get a 9 and a 1 and a 1. And you were absolutely correct that that looks like that, which makes it very creepy. because this mural was built and installed in 1999. Now, the Pfizer building is actually 33 stories tall, and it was put in place or being built in 1960. So there were all these clues and symbols all around this image of the beakers. But you see, the beakers are elevated to the top because this is all about a particular thing. And that's what I'm going to show you. Because the beakers gave me the clue that these symbols mean something. And I couldn't figure it out at first. I was looking and looking. I'm like, what are these symbols? And then I found them, all the symbols, almost all of them, on this alchemy chart. The symbols that you're going to see in the lobby are alchemical symbols, matched perfectly. Now, alchemy, of course, are the dark arts, Egyptian black arts. In fact, alchemy, the word, comes from the word kemet, which means black, or like black magic. Now, here's one image that I found that you can't see in the video. And this almost looks like some kind of recipe. We're going to look at these symbols one by one and look at what the recipe might be. For some of you that know a little bit about alchemy, you can tell us what you think it is. This may give us a clue as to what kind of alterations that these people are trying to do to us with their alchemy. Now let's keep going with this. Let's back this up. This is the only symbol. Let's back it up. This is the only symbol that I could not find on the alchemical chart. It looks like a cross with a rectangle around it. This one was not in the chart that I saw. You guys are with me. Good. Let's keep going. Now, according to the Wikipedia page on alchemy, Zosimos of Panopolis wrote in the final abstinence that the ancient practice of tinctures, the technical Greek name for the alchemical arts, had been taken over by certain demons who taught the art only to those who offered them sacrifices. Wow. Since Zosimos also called the demons guardians of places and those who offered them sacrifices priests, it is fairly clear that he was referring to the gods of Egypt and their priests, right out of the Wikipedia article for alchemy. Now let's keep going with this. Now, as you saw in the beginning, this is Horus on the left. And I looked into Horus, a man with a head of a falcon, according to Wikipedia. Once again, let's pull that page up. Here it is here. Man with the head of a falcon. Now, Claudius Alanius wrote that Egyptians called the god Apollo Horus. Horus is Apollo. Do you see how all this is fitting in now? Do you see how Thump and the Apollo paint house and the launch of Warp Speed, how it's all fitting in? Warp Speed, time travel, demon possession, preparing humanity for the mass possession. Now, we had just covered this picture of Horus inside the flower, the lotus flower. Everybody remembers that we had just covered this several weeks ago before this image of Horus appeared in the Pfizer lobby, or before the reemergence of the story, let's say. And this is just like the opening lotus with the twisting seeds in I Pet Goat 2. Remember the lotus? Let's look it up. Lotus. Remember the twisting seeds coming up out of the lotus flower. This might be the better image here. And remember that we had discussed that what the twisting seeds were doing was possessing the presidents. Remember that? Well, here we go again, because Horus was pictured as a boy with no hair inside of the lotus flower in these ancient images. See if we can find one with the seeds so you guys can see this two seeds twisting around. That's the most important part of this image here. Lotus, let's put seeds. No, they're not going to show us the image here. So now it's all coming together, what their little plan is. So let's go back to this now. So there's Horus. And now we can now understand the image of this lotus, him in the lotus, a little bit better, because this is all about spirit possession. Okay? That's what it's about. That's why he's coming up out of the lotus flower. Now let's keep looking here. Here's some other images of Horus with no hair as a baby with a serpent on his head coming up out of the lotus flower. Now, so my personal belief is that all presidents are demon possessed. The inauguration is a ceremony by which the spirit enters the president. And of course, the eye of Horus also appears in the lobby. Now, Horus eventually began to be associated with his father Osiris, according to ancient legend and myth. He was sometimes believed to be both the father of himself as well as his own son. And some later accounts give or have Osiris being brought back to life by Isis. Now, according to their Egyptian legend, Horus had one eye that was the moon and one eye that was the sun, and the falcon flew across the sky. And that's how they believe the sun and moon moved across the sky. Now, before we get into the rest of the alchemical symbols in this mosaic, let's go into Google Earth. I had to close it because for some reason we weren't getting good internet for a minute there. We're going to open it back up here and take a look at this. Now, we're going to go to Pfizer's World Headquarters. Now, the first thing you're going to see is the proximity of the World Headquarters building to the UN complex. It's literally 1 block away. Now, we had found the numbers 119 inside the UN complex. As you can see, we traced it here. 119, this is the UN complex. Formed, let's move this up here so you guys can see this. Formed by the driveway and the Secretariat building, as well as the building next to the Secretariat building. Many of you compared this building here to ancient Egypt. You said it looked very Egyptian, this shape here. Well, it's because it is. There's the 119, and here a block away is the Pfizer building. Now, here's where things get very, very spooky. Because as we had discovered, all the buildings in Manhattan are aligned to 119 degrees. All of the buildings in Lower Manhattan are aligned to 119 degrees. Or the streets, I should say. Let me zoom this out so you can see this more clearly. And I place the cursor, run it down the street, And there you see on your screen 119 degrees. I'll do it with this other street. 119 degrees. Now, the implications of this are simply stunning. How are the streets aligned to 119 degrees? Long before a 9 and a 1 and a 1 emergency number was invented, long before 19 box cutting jack hackers got on a plane and hit the 19th floor on 119 or 9 to the 1 to the 1. I'm being careful how I say this because these are the kinds of videos that will be hidden. They do not want people knowing that this was all proposed and pre-planned. Unbelievable. 119 degree streets all the way through Manhattan, ending with the United Nations, because this was the plan from the get-go. There's a demonic plan hiding beneath the surface, and all the people at the top are ruled by it. Now let's get into some more of the esoterics of this building. I'm going to try to turn 3D buildings on here so you can see the Pfizer building. Here's the back side of the building here, as you see. And let's move to the front side of the building. Let's spin this around. Let's turn this line off here. Make sure you guys are with me still. Good. All right. So here is the front of the Pfizer building. And I did confirm that the images that you saw are from this lower portion of the lobby. When you go down to the street view, you can see right in, just like the YouTube channel did that recorded all this. Now, the building sits on 42nd Street, which is 14 plus 14 plus 14, which just so happens to be the number of pieces that Osiris was cut into. You know, Osiris that is supposed to also have syncretized with Horus, his son. Wow. 3 14s. 42nd Street. 3 levels of the building, as you can see here across the front, which is the giveaway. There are 33 total stories in this building. Now, let's get back into the lobby and break down more of these symbols here, these alchemical symbols. Now, one form of Horus, according to the story of Horus the Younger, his name was Harpocrates, which has the word Harpo in it, which is Oprah backwards. So I don't know what that means, but many of these modern gods with a little g will use, these ancient, they'll tap into these ancient spirits. They may even be possessed by these ancient spirits. Okay. And so now you see why this 9 and a 1 and a 1 is very realistically the case, because just a block away, we have the same 119. Now, there was a festival dedicated to Horus on the winter solstice. Go figure, right? The winter solstice, that's the same birthday as Apollo, right? Which he has also been syncretized to. So this is all starting to make perfect sense. This is why all these elite are invested in Pfizer. Here's one of the alchemical symbols here as we begin to break these down. Let's take a look here. Here's the alchemical chart. And as you can see, that particular symbol is sulfuric acid, as you can see on your screen here. Sulfuric acid. Let's compare the symbols here. Let's move this over. Okay, I told you guys we were going to dive deep today. Now, this is the one I could not identify. So if someone in the chat could help identify this alchemical symbol. But so far, we have sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. This one, let's take a look at the chart. Now, these may be some kind of recipe, right? Looks like that one could be... Let's look through these here. Probably this symbol here. Quick lime. Now, I don't know what a lot of these things represent, but this may be the symbol for quicklime, or it could be scruple. No, it's probably quicklime. Let's keep looking. Now, hopefully someone's writing these down, because this could form some kind of recipe. Then, this symbol here, there's some that are close to. Now, understand these two top circles here are probably represent like an infinity symbol. And all of these are hanging from these two top ones. So really the symbol is just this portion down here. Let's look at the alchemical chart for what this might be. Just a circle with a cross on top of it. Probably could be this symbol, but that looks a little bit different. But that says the spirit. Could also be, is that brass? Brass. Or this one maybe. Circle, but it would be upside down. Mercury or spirit Mercury. So that one's a little bit more obscure, not as exact as some of the other ones that we are going to identify and have identified. Now, look at these creepy figures. They are the scientists. And later in the video, you'll see their dark eyes. They looked possessed, which is exactly what we're talking about right now. Now let's keep going. He's going to zoom in on some of these symbols. A second here. Just unbelievable. Now we're going to look at the artist who did this shortly. Now, here's the symbol we couldn't really identify. It looks like a circle with a cross on top with a strike through it. I don't know what that symbol is. Does not look familiar to me. And I could not find this cross with a rectangle in it. But this symbol here, this is the one. It's got like a spiral on the bottom. Let's see if we could try to find this one. A Y with a spiral on the bottom. Kind of like a cross Y. Do you guys see it? I don't see it. Now, maybe down here. Oh, here it is. Found it. Compose. So this means compose. All right. This is the action. Looks like it's being taken from the material. Up here, it looks like the materials and also measurements of time. And then down here, it's what to do with it. Do you compose it? Do you rot it? Do you boil it? Solve it? Now, this is all new for me. I don't know alchemy because this is forbidden. This is like the dark arts. This is magic, basically. Now, let's keep going with this. See if there's any other symbols we can identify. These look like elevator numbers here, 19 to 32, 3 to 6, possibly. And there you see changing patients' lives. What are they changing and what are they doing to our lives? Look at the dark eyes. Look at this. They're like possessed. They could have easily dropped in some look at this. How are they going to change patients' lives? Look at the organisms. Spikes of protein. Wow. Breakthroughs that change patients' lives. Breaking through what and what change is happening. Now, these scientists are obviously using alchemy to affect humans. And this gives a whole new meaning to their mission statement about breaking through and changing lives. Now, I know from some of you that you mentioned that this looked a lot like a cell phone, and it probably does. But my guess is this is some kind of alchemical tool. Okay, I didn't figure out what that alchemical tool was, but it's clear to me this is some kind of alchemical tool that these dark scientists are using. Now, what I'm also seeing is some kind of historical timeline. So you're also seeing like these figures seem to be changing historically in their appearance. You start with this guy, and then time seems to move on, and then like you get different points in history. Then you get this guy who's more modern, and this guy who's more modern. You see? Now, another thing he noticed was there was a car sitting out in front of the building with Jab on the license plate. And here's the number 57, which is 5G Whiz. Well, it's 57, right? And the number 14, probably the 14 pieces of Osiris slash Horus, because they're one and the same, remember, based on our research. Wow. Now, I'm thinking, let's go back here to this part with these microorganisms, because there's more to these microorganisms than meets the eye. I believe the microorganisms being shown here are actually the catalyst for the change that they're talking about. Look at some of this. Whoa. They've got roots. The cutting of roots. Remember? This was taught by the fallen angels, the cutting of roots. Most of pharmakia comes from the cutting of roots. They come from plants. All taught by the fallen angels. Down here he zooms in, and you can see these like organisms here almost is what it looks like. Right? Let's let it zoom over here. Now, I believe that this change that they're talking about is the programmable matter from the canopic jars, the ancient canopic jars. And inside those jars is the DNA. It's the broken down DNA from the genetic material the internal organs of the pharaohs. And I believe it had otherworldly property because these pharaohs were part Nephilim. Okay, let's keep looking here. Now, let's take a look at the artist who did the murals. Now, this is information I know that you definitely haven't seen yet. Now, this is creepy. Oh, here's the 33 stories of the building. I wanted to show you that. That was built in 1960. Okay, here is the artist right here. His name is Nikos Bell John. And he charged $6,000 plus $6,000 plus $6,000, $666, for this mural. It's 6 times 6 feet wide, 36 feet, and 14 feet tall. There's your 14 pieces of Osiris. And it was restored and dedicated in 1999. Now, if you think this is all just stretch work, he died in 66, so there's the number 66 again, and was born on 1911. What are the odds of that? Now, they even say here that he was known to paint with light. Painting with light. Apollo, that would be very fitting for all of this. And he did work for the FBI. Now, what else do we have here? Well, there's a lot of sixes and sixes and sixes and 119s surrounding this entire thing, right? This entire mural. This is a clue, in my opinion. And all of this, to me, represents some kind of strange symbolism. Because it was through alchemy that Osiris/Horus was reassembled from the 14 pieces he was broken into. And this is what I believe Pfizer is trying to do. Everything they've been working on since the beginning are basically experiments on the people to get to the end goal, preparing the vessel for demon possession and combining you with steel so that the demonic spirit can take human form and live until the return of Christ. So that's what I wanted to show you guys today. Heavy stuff. Heavy, heavy stuff, you guys. And there, as you can see, there's much more to it than just Egyptian symbolism. Let's go into the chat here. See what you guys are up to. Yes, many believe that Osiris was Nimrod. Nimrod was the grandson of Ham. And now you're seeing how it all fits together. That whole Hamite bloodline. After the ark, something was wrong with it. Out of them came Cush. Out of them came the entire Egyptian pharaonic bloodline. Now understand that many of the descendants of Egypt today are not actual, the Egypt of today is not bad. It's the elite, the controllers. Okay. It's just like saying, okay, you can't condemn all of America because of the controllers. They are from a different bloodline. And it was the same back then. So we're talking about the rulership and leadership of ancient Egypt, the pharaonic bloodlines. Now, what many people don't know is that the whole enslavement of God's people, it went across two different pharaohs. There were two different pharaohs likely involved during that time span. And you can do your own biblical research on this. But there were two pharaohs involved. I think one was, I can't remember who they were, but I remember reading about this. So this is all about alchemy. This is what they're working on, getting you accustomed to taking their tinctures, and then they spring the big one on you, which is what they're doing right now. Now, do you guys have any questions about any of this? 7 vials of revelation. I think there may be 8. Let me look. I thought I counted 8 here. Let's let this play through. Look at this stuff. These people want to be gods. Science wants to cure people for more than any disease wants to exist. Science will win. Now remember, Apollo created the disease and he cured it. And he required a sacrifice of 100 cattle called a hecatomb. This is right out of ancient writings. He created the disease and he cured it. So every time they reference Apollo, they're pretty much admitting to that. And since they have Horus right there, who is Apollo, sitting in their lobby, they're pretty much admitting that. Let me show you that, because many people do not know about this. I've shown this on previous shows, but it's good to look at this again. In the Iliad, Apollo is the healer under the gods, but he is also the bringer of disease. I didn't say this. Wikipedia says it. And death with his arrows. Now you know what the serpent in the chest is. The arrows. Okay? The bow carried by the white horse, similar to the function of the Vedic god of disease Rudra. He sends a plague to the Achaeans. Knowing that Apollo can prevent a reoccurrence of the plague he sent, they purify themselves in a ritual and offer him a large sacrifice of cows called a hecatomb. So always be on the lookout for, it says as many as 100 cattle and as few as 12. Okay? So, there you have it. in their own words, in their own symbolism. This goes far deeper than just some Egyptian gods on a wall in the lobby, as you can see. Now, where are we here? Oh, we were going to count these, weren't we? Science never rests. Yeah, the devil never rests. Solid core diplomat. What? Diplomat chemists? Diplomat chemists across the street. Here's the license plate. Oh, look, that one had 666 on the back. Wow. Wow. Pfizer. Science will win. In other words, the devil will win is what they think. Right down the street from the, is that the Chrysler building or the Empire State Building? I get confused. Let's go back and count these vials. I counted 8, you guys. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, wait, 9? Wait. 1, 2, hold on. There's like either 8 or 9, but there's not 7. All right. Let's go back into the chat here. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. You understand the seriousness of the nature of what we're dealing with. And you understand the deeper meanings of all this. Yes, the Apollo missions. Now you guys are starting to put the pieces together. They worship Apollo, though. It's always been about Apollo. The ultimate mechanism of control is fear. And if you have people believing that they need the people at the top to save them from that fear, they will go along with it. That's exactly what's happening right now. And hopefully some people, can finally understand, because it's been a lot of research to find all the symbolism and understand what it means. And it's been in bits and pieces. And once you put it all together, you see it in its entirety. Now, on Monday, well, tomorrow we're going to do Between the Headlines, but on Monday, I've already got a montage put together from the film Terminator Genisys. And in there, they talk about infecting humanity with the black goo from the ancient pharaohs and combining them with the machine. It's unbelievable. And there's a lot more to it than that as well. They say there is no cure. There is no cure. And it's got the time travel aspect to it. And we'll talk about all that as well. These time machines aren't time machines at all. They are the device that they use to move the demonic spirit into the host. That's what it is. And to them, it's time travel, because they wake up from, 7,000 years, not 7,000, but 800 years ago. They wake up in a new body, and it's like time travel to them. That's what it is. And these machines are made out of copper. We're going to see a lot of that from the Genisys film as well, where one of the Terminators hits the other one with an eyeglass, or what do you call it? A telescope from the Griffith Observatory, and out comes all this copper money. And then the time machine has copper coils all throughout it. So these machines have copper. That's what this is all about. And what they're trying to do is build a giant one around all of us with these copper base stations, copper-filled base stations from 5G Wiz, so they can do the same thing to us. Possess all of us. The only way you can stand against this is to be strong and solid in the Word and the Most High and His Son. If the choices have already been made. Someone said to me, I stick around in this town because I'm trying to help other people. You guys, the lines have already been drawn. And the Bible says this. There will become a time where God would send out a strong delusion. Well, I think we're probably there. I think we're probably there. People willing to poke themselves with something they have no idea what the long-term effects are. That would be considered a strong delusion. So you're going to go down with those people. They will be the ones to betray you. You've already said everything you can say. I mean, you can keep trying. I mean, who am I to say, right? I mean, I'm not God. I don't know the very end of the timeline. So I retract that statement. Okay, in terms of who can be saved and who can't, because I don't know. I'm just a man. But what I'm telling you is you need to take a gut check and look at your life and ask yourself, is this really the reason why I'm staying in the situation I'm in? Is it really because I'm here to save other people, or is it because I'm still holding on to something here? And that's between you and God, not me. But you got to pray about it. Say, God, is it time for my deliverance from the dangers that are coming? That the writing is on the wall, that we see every single day, increasing in frequency and intensity and danger, the danger level, like Lost in Space, Danger Will Robinson, right? Well, we're to that point now. We're at DEF CON, whatever you want to call it. I mean, people have lost their minds. There are people taking extra booster seats above and beyond, and no one's stopping them. The medical establishment has no idea what this will do to people, but yet they put it in the news. Oh, there's people that are just taking extras. They're not condemning it. They're not saying you better not do that because it's not tested. That should tell you everything you need to hear right there. They want you to believe that it's so safe that people are taking extras and they're okay. How do you know they're okay? Well, they're only going to tell you what they want you to hear. They're only going to admit to what they want you to hear and see, and what they want to admit to. Can't trust these people. Okay, your mom makes some cookies, puts them in the cookie jar. And you go in there, she tells you, do not eat those cookies. And you go in there and you eat 5 cookies. Mom comes home, looks in the cookie jar, says, let's use Tanya. Tanya, did you eat 3 of these cookies? Well, of course you're going to say yes, because that's not a lie, isn't it? You did eat 3, but you ate 2 more, but you're not going to tell her that. Yeah, I ate 3 cookies. All right. Well, that's 3 hours in timeout. And that's exactly how the people in power who control the narrative, this is what they do. They go, okay, we'll admit to these people. We're not lying because those people did die from the sticker. But we're not going to admit to all the other ones. We'll just admit to a few. Because they control what is and isn't a cause of death, don't they? So, all right, you guys, that was a pretty big show. We'll do headlines tomorrow. We'll kind of take it easy. I've got all these here pulled up. Got about 10 or 15 stories we can talk about tomorrow. And, of course, I'll link all of this from today in the pinned comment. I love you guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care and be safe.